My name is Alexis Coleman, and this is my biggest challenge. It's a conversation that I want to have with my fellow teachers and parents. And the issue is, and this is an issue that's current, especially, but something we think about in general, is how can we still encourage our students' healthy social and emotional growth? It's a lot easier when we're in the classroom with them, but we're not in the classroom now. So, how do we deal with that in a remote learning way? For those of you who don't know what social emotional growth is, it's the process of developing self awareness, self control, and interpersonal skills. I teach middle school students. They're in the heart of learning how to deal with problems and emotions. And this is a very vulnerable time for them. I'm really worried about them. I'm trying not to think about it too much and just deal with it on a daily basis and continue doing what I've been doing in the classroom, maybe with a little more emphasis on interpersonal skills. There's a lot of resources out there. Certainly if you start looking, you're going to find yourself overwhelmed. So, my suggestion is to bring in more emphasis on the arts part of the STEAM education, emphasizing specifically music, fine arts, and physical movement. There's only so much we can do, so we should focus on the things that we can do. So, for example, how can you add an element of music to your assignments? I teach creative writing. Um, it's not a music class, but for example, we can think about what music some of the literary characters that we've read around about would like, or a character that they created. What's their favorite song? I think that would be a very telling thing. It's very easy for kids to think about. You could take a character and place them in the 1920s and find like what's their favorite song from that era, right? So you can talk about historical figures. Maybe, what was Martin Luther King Jr.'s favorite music? Who knows? It could be something that my students like. Can a student look at music in a new way? Maybe they can make instruments. Take glasses and fill them with water and do the thing where you tap, and depending on how much water you get different sounds, and listen to a song backwards. That's always fun. You can have students listen to some music that you suggest and then return the favor. I know that in the classroom, when my students were writing, I would play music for them sometimes. Sometimes I would let them listen to their own. But I found it valuable to force them to listen to stuff that they wouldn't normally listen to. You can have simple discussions with them. Tell me about some of the music you've been listening to. What do you think about this? Don't turn it into an assignment. And speak with the music teacher at your school to come up with some ideas. Obviously, music teachers love music, and this is what they're trained to do. So, take advantage of the experts that you have at your disposal. Um, I did an assignment where I had to ask students what weird fact about life they liked out of a list of 15. And a lot of kids picked that music reduces anxiety. And this is some of the things that they told me. Singing does reduce anxiety. If I'm feeling down, I try to cheer myself up with a happy song, and sometimes it actually works. Kids think about music. They want to have it in their lives and they want to incorporate it. So, this is an easy way to encourage them to find something that will give them a little peace in this crazy time. This girl had a specific experience with her therapist that she recommended listening to music. She had an anxiety attack, so she put on some music. I listen to music at night when I can't sleep. It just distracts my conscious minds, and it takes me out of my world, and it generally helps me sleep. So we know that music works as therapy in this way. As far as art, there's free art lessons online. A lot of people who are artists or illustrators or graphic novelists, they're doing art lessons on a daily basis. You can use a ton of digital tools, Screencastify, for video editing, Powtoons, Google Slides. There's, a lot of stuff that we are all familiar with. Found objects are art. I mean, there's such beauty in everyday things, like kitchen utensils sometimes can be designed in such a neat way. Designs on plates, like there is art in our present life all over. It doesn't have to be something that a student draws. People get intimidated by art, but putting together a slideshow with images, illustrating a story is also art. The idea is that you want it to be non-judgmental and non-intimidating, because again, if you say we're going to do art today, a lot of kids are going to be like, well, I'm not an artist, this is not going to work for me, and they get anxious, and we're not looking to do that with our students. So, you want to think about things that are easily accessible by people who really don't even have a lot of confidence in their artistic skills. So, but can your students illustrate a story or some history? Can they make a comic strip to explain science or a math concept? Can they color a picture? Can they analyze an abstract painting? They can take a painting and maybe write dialogue or conversations about some characters in art. So there are very easy, concrete things you can do that will expand a student's experience. And the idea is that anything that will get students out of their own heads and into something that isn't reality will certainly help. Getting physical obviously is going to help. Your gym, your physical ed teachers are confronting this on a daily basis. Some ideas, since kids are stuck at home, is make an obstacle course out in the yard or maybe on the sidewalk, hop 10 times, spin around, jump on one foot, that kind of thing. You can watch videos, GoPro or first person videos of people doing physical things that you can't do or maybe wouldn't do, like, for example, hang gliding. But it'd be fun to see, you're not jumping off the mountain, taking a hike somewhere, anywhere, climbing a mountain, taking a swim underwater. Those are all cool things to kind of, take secondhand part in. I'm not a dancer, but I've seen a lot of people do TikTok dances, so that's an option. And the idea is that you want to have kids do something fun. So maybe learn a party trick, like whistling with your fingers. I challenged my students at the beginning of the year to do that. I said I would buy you a bagel or a slice of pizza. I had one student who learned how to do it. Well, it's one out of like 170, but maybe some more kids will put some effort into it. Maybe kids will learn how to play the spoons, something that won't require musical talent or a lot of practice, but will get them doing something physical. The whole concept of this stuff is kind of creating a fuller environment for the kids. A lot of schools have maker spaces. This is kind of becoming a big educational trend. We're not in schools anymore, well, at least right now. So, how do we transfer that online? So, it's going to require things like collaborating with your colleagues and thinking maybe in terms of a unit. You talk to the history teacher. What are they learning about? Like, what project can you, like me as a creative writing teacher, do in conjunction with the history teacher and the language arts teacher to have students have a fuller experience? You can obviously turn to Google. There's tons of online support, people who are dedicated their careers to maker spaces. And the idea really is to be patient. We need to get ourselves out of our own comfort zones, and we need to make ourselves available to our students and create a little safe zone so that they can take themselves out of their comfort zones. Because the thing that I'm worried about most of all is kids are now, middle school kids who don't really like to be involved with things that are challenging, isolate themselves, and now they have an excuse to be even extra isolated. So, we really need to pay attention to this. And this ties into the ISTE standard that I chose for this, which is Collaborator. This is under the education strand. We really do need to things like dedicate planning time with our colleagues and collaborate and co learn with our students and use collaborative tools. And we need to think about how we're going to do all this stuff. We need to dedicate time. It's April 16th. I am supposed to be in school until late June, and it doesn't look like that's happening. So I have a good solid 2 months of thinking about how to maintain a connection with my students and help them grow as individuals, because that was my goal in the classroom. And just because I'm not in the classroom, it doesn't mean it's not my goal anymore. So, wish me luck, and I wish everybody else luck. And, again, good luck, have fun, and be safe.